So, what needs to be explained about Winston's case is that his initial arrest was based off of a lie. And in order to keep, this going, more lies had to be formulated. And we see that throughout not only these confessions, but all throughout his trial, the trial statements. A bunch of lies upon lies upon lies. And when you take these lies and you add them with a biased judge and incompetent police work, you'll get a wrongful conviction every single time. So let's get into some of these details. Winston's name was brought into this case about a year after the crime happened by a person named Michael McKay, who had recently robbed a local church, was caught with a stolen handgun from the robbery, and said that he got this handgun by robbing Winston's shared home. His statement to police was that he broke in through a doggy door that was built for Yorkies. Yep. He said he broke into Winston's shared home through a doggy door that was built for Yorkies, that there was guns and drugs and all this crazy stuff. And so with that, the police got themselves a warrant. You won't believe what happened next. So based on Michael McKay's story about how he received this stolen gun by robbing somebody else's home, this gun was from a robbery. Anyways, so based off of this kid's statement, they got themselves a warrant. They went to Winston's shared home. When they got to their home, they had called agencies and local newses and all that stuff, thinking they were going to do this big old bust. They got there and they found nothing. Absolutely nothing. Winston willingly gave his DNA at this time to excuse him from this entire case, you know what I mean? And to save face, the lead detective told the local news that it was a drug bust. A drug bust where no drugs were taken, nobody was arrested. This was one of the first times that Winston's name was slandered. So these, incompetent police, they're interrogating Winston and his roommate and whatnot. And through consistent interrogations and stuff, his roommate ended up saying this confession, I guess you would say, with a deal. So his deal was supposed to be 10 years in, 20 years out. And with this deal, he had a story of some type of confession saying that Winston, another man, and him went to the residence to steal an industrial size welder, to steal a welder that would never fit in the tiny car that they had. This car plus 3 guys in it is supposed to fit a industrial size welder, which varies between like 500 to like 1,800 pounds. Let's just mention that. It's almost like it's not true. Now, with his roommate's said confession to this, based off of his deal that he was supposed to receive, then the roommate mentioned the driver, right, who would be Andrew Travis. They had to go to Colorado and get Andrew out of a jail. Drive him all the way back to Oklahoma, interrogating him the entire time, by the way. That's like a 12-hour drive. I'm not really too sure how many hours, but it's a long drive. So they drive him back. They're interrogating him. He maintains Winston's innocence the entire time. He was put on suicide watch as he was being detained in a cell called The Rock. He was put on suicide watch. He was quoted for saying, "I'd rather die than do a whole bunch of time." They took him to court and were threatening to give him 100 years. After he heard that he was going to get 100 years, well, guess who came up with another story? That's right, Andrew Travis. So his story is that they went out there and that he dropped off Winston and the other guy and drove off. He's not from Oklahoma, but he drove off in the middle of bumfuck Egypt, and that he had to go back twice. Once because Winston called him, and the second time because Winston called him after the crime happened. So we take a look at the cell phone towers to see, about these calls. Let's add this up. Winston didn't have any calls. Pretty hard to make a phone call to get picked up after a robbery if you never made a phone call. Winston's last recorded call was at midnight, and it either did not go through because of service or it didn't go through because his phone was dead. So how are you going to pick somebody up from a crime scene if they never called you? Now, this coercion is seen all throughout the trial, all throughout the confessions. The truth never strays too far from itself, but these lies do. you know. And it's tragic because everybody who came up with different lies that don't make any sense, different stories that make no sense, they all got deals to turn over Winston. It's like they just wanted Winston. It was really crazy. But how are you going to take somebody saying that they went there, 3 guys in a tiny car, to steal an industrial sized welder? How are you going to accept somebody saying that they drove them there, and there was 2 calls made by Winston but no proof of any phone calls? How are you going to convict a 19-year-old first-time offender to 92 years with no chance of parole for a crime where literally there was no evidence that he was ever there? The only thing bringing him into this case is hearsay. There's only circumstantial evidence. A kid lost his life. You should care. You should care so much. Don't wait until it's your son. Don't wait until it's you. Care now. Smash that like button, you guys. Go ahead and share it. And please feel free to inbox if you want to see legal documentation. Love to see you join the fight. Do not forget to click the link in the bio on the page. There's a clickable link on the bio on the page. It's for a petition to help get him a fair retrial. That's the least that he deserves. He's already lost 10 years of his life. He doesn't deserve to lose any more. Have a good day.